Hello and welcome to another episode of Don't Shit on the Bus. I'm your host, Adam Omakayas, tuning in all the way from Los Angeles, California. This is episode number 61, and we've got the amazing, the wonderful, the very kind and cool Daniel Nickleski. I think I said the last name right. Also known as Soundworks Dan. He runs a company out of the Midwest for sound, tours as a sound guy, does some production as well. He does a lot of different things on tour, but he tours. Most recently, and in the past few years, he has been with Kygo. You might remember Matthew Flyzik from, it's got to be like 30 episodes ago now, but he came on here, talked about what it was like to tour manage, production manage Kygo. Well, now we've got another person from that group talking with us. And, when Dan came on, our kind of idea was we'd talk about what it was like touring with COVID, but we kind of talked more about what it's like touring with Kygo and then what it was like touring with Kygo during COVID. So we went over, how we got into the music industry, all the fun stuff we usually go over. And then I think I'm going to make more of a habit. I really liked those tour tales we did a few weeks ago. They were fun. It was like sitting down with some friends and just hearing them chat. I liked that. Maybe it'll mean a longer episode. Maybe it'll mean more of the episode will be taken up by this, but Daniel did tell some good, embarrassing, fun stories at the end of the episode. I'm all about that. And if you guys like something more than another thing or just have some suggestions, feel free to let me know. Instagram, Twitter, I check them both like once a week. So hit me up and I'll get back to you. Maximum amount of time, 7 days. Minimum amount of time, 1 day. Yeah, it'll be great. Anyway, thank you so much, Daniel, for coming on here. Or Dan. I think most of it goes by Dan. I call him Dan. It depends how professional you're trying to be. We can keep that in. That's Mark. He's excited too. Mark, you don't get to get fed yet. But it was nice having him on. We had toured together a lot with All Time Low over the past 10 years. We both no longer tour with them, but we did grow together a lot all around the world. And we actually started out together in the Midwest. So it was cool seeing him, it's cool meeting up with him on the road, touring with him and getting to live with him, hang out with him. And now reconnecting all these years later just to talk about what working with Kygo has been like and what he is up to. So thank you, Dan, for coming on the show. And thank you, of course, to our patrons for supporting the podcast. Every week, they make a little bit of a donation, and that money goes a long way. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Connor thanks you. Eva thanks you. Mark throwing in his thank you as well. That's very nice of you. Anyway, that's all I got. If you want to sign up for Be a Patron, come check it out. Keeps us commercial free. It's how we run the podcast. Nothing crazy. We're just a bunch of people trying to learn, and, hopefully it'll be a book one day. Just wait and see. With that being said, I hope you enjoy episode 61 of Don't Shit on the Bus, the best place to come and learn about the music industry. All right, I will see you next week. What's up, Dan? Welcome to the bus. How you doing, man?
Good. How you doing, man? It's good to be here. Happy to be on the show.
Yeah, I'm happy to have you. I feel like today I kind of just get to talk to a friend I grew up with, more so than most touring people.
Yeah, I mean, we grew up without even knowing we grew up together, which is kind of funny.
Yeah, I think there's been, for what it's worth, Dan will get into the specifics of how we grew up together, but he's reminded me like 3 times over the past 10 years that we knew each other before we toured together. And I just somehow always forget. So I get excited every single time.
I totally forget about that portion of my life. And that's cool too. It definitely pops up randomly on Facebook feeds and whatnot. I'm like, oh yeah, I knew Adam way back when.
We did these things called Robot Mosh Fest, right? Is that the most of what we did? You do any of the Legion Hall stuff, or was it mostly like Robot Mosh Fest? What's the vibe?
My memory of that time is blurry, but definitely Robot Mosh Fest. That's the ones that pop out the most. I think I did some of the Legion Hall and like some random Milwaukee and Madison shows. So definitely did a lot of those, like Chicagoland, South. You would have been in South Wisconsin, right? Or were you northern?
Yeah, I'm from
Illinois?
Madison.
Yeah, so Southern Wisconsin, like hardcore scene shows. That's kind of how my company got into the audio business.
And for people who didn't grow up in the Midwest, which is the majority of people on here, I'm assuming, we've talked about it before because some people I've had on here before come from the same world. But basically in like early 2000s, we would just rent out like teen centers or roller skating rinks, and you would come in and throw up a sound system and do concerts wherever with hardcore bands. Yeah,
definitely. I kind of grew up in it, not in the hardcore scene at all. I grew up on like Blink-182 and Yellow Card. That was like pop punk all the way. But played drums, played in some bands in high school, ended up meeting a business partner who also was in a band, played drums. And we both kind of realized we don't make any money doing this. Like, we're paying money to go play these shows. If we bought some speakers, we can make like $100 or, $75 or something dumb. But when you're like 18, you're like, oh man, I just made $100 cash or $200 cash. I just made a lot of money tonight. So
I'm rich.
Yeah, exactly. So we kind of just started two separate companies doing this, and we were actually like mortal enemies. Like, oh, this guy sucks. He kept like undercutting
Wait, who was
me.
this?
I undercut him. His name's Eric Lindholm.
Okay.
And I guarantee you've never met him, but there's that Robot Mosh Fest video that goes around, like the newscast of it.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Where like you're in it, I'm in it, and then he's in it too. It's kind of funny. But yeah, we kind of like joined forces, and then we started doing the hardcore scene because we met this guy Drew Curtis, who I believe you know from back in the day,
and Daniel Good.
And Daniel Good, yeah, both those dudes. Still talking to him to this day. But they were kind of in the scene doing audio as well, and they just needed help. So we came out, supplementing PAs because Robot Mosh Fest had 2 stages, so it was like massive at the time for us.
Yeah, it was crazy. Oh my God, what good times!
And the funny part is, like, we knew each other back then, and then we toured together for probably 2 years or something like that before we realized that we knew each other back then. I don't know how it came up, but it did.
Yeah, it's so weird because I knew Daniel and I knew Drew because I kept in touch with them. They come through Madison. The bands they're with would crash at my place because they'd be in a van, or I'd go to Chicago and hang out with them. I actually saw Daniel recently because he works on podcasts now. That's all he does.
Nice. Yeah, and I haven't talked to him. I've talked to him recently, but not super recently.
But yeah, and we started touring together. I think it was All Time Low, right? Or did we tour on something else?
I guarantee it was All Time Low. Yeah, it had been All Time Low. Because before them, I was with another band that if you were under the age of 40, you had no clue who they were. So
who was it? Can we know?
It was this band called the English Beat. They're like an old new wave ska band from England.
Okay, guilty, under age of 40.
That was my first step in the touring world, was with those guys, and I was younger than everybody on the bus by at least 30 years.
That was your first tour you ever did?
Yeah. I was like 20 years old on a bus with guys that were all over 50.
How did you go from Robot Mosh Fest to being on that tour? Like, what was your in to the industry?
It was my company, Soundworks, 100%.
Oh, sick.
And my company was my in to All Time Low as well.
Okay.
I kind of like molded a relationship. Those guys were playing a small club called Mojo's in Chicago a lot. And Mojo's had a PA, but not big enough for All Time Low when they came in because, 400 kids would show up or something like that. So yeah, they call us and we come in and do PA. We did all the All Time Low shows there, just kind of was always not in the guys' faces, kind of knew the thing, like, hey, what's up? I'm the local guy. Started recognizing me. Then they moved on to like the House of Blues, realm. And I'd hit up Flyzik, their TM at the time, be like, hey man, can I come out? And just would come out and like just kind of be in the area like they're in, but not too much in their face. And they decided they needed a monitor guy one day. And they're like, oh, what about that kid from Chicago? Like, not kid, but that guy from Chicago. Like, he seems pretty cool. And yeah, just took off from there.
I love hearing that because that is like, granted, no disrespect to All Time Low, they're a good sized band, but all the stories I've heard are like, oh, Metallica hired us from the venue, but it does happen on all the levels. Like, that is awesome to hear that they found the person that they vibed with in the town, and then when they needed that person, they just hit you up. How stoked were you when that happened?
Yeah, I totally was. And in fact, I was on that tour with the English Beat guys for a while, and it was fun. But like I said, I was so young and they were older. Like, days off were just like me by myself. It kind of just got old. So I kind of just quit touring, went back to doing, working with my company locally. ATL released that DVD, straight to DVD. And we were watching with some friends one night. And I was like, if those guys called, like, I go back on tour again, but I'm never going to tour other than that. And like 2 months later, I get an email from Flyzik, like, hey man, so we're looking for a monitor guy. I'm wondering if you're interested. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. Like, this is awesome. So stoked to get that email and just kind of head out on the road with those guys. That first tour with them was kind of crazy. I was doing monitors, but there wasn't enough room on their bus for me. So I ended up on Hey Monday's bus, like sleeping in a bunk, like just on a band that I didn't know them. I wasn't working for them. Became good friends with those guys though. We'd like crash in ATL's back lounge, going to days off. So I'd be with those guys. It's just kind of like a crazy tour that I just kind of like hopped on this bus and just started working.
And what was it like as a touring person to go from touring with people who obviously age was a big factor, who you didn't really relate to then being with ATL, who I know that the majority of their crew was all probably early 20s at that time. So I'm assuming
we were all the same age. I think I was a couple of years older than the band members. Probably one of the oldest people on the crew besides Jeff. Jeff was the grandfather of the crew, and I always made fun of him for it.
At an age of 32.
Within a week of being on tour, those guys, not even a week, like just became friends with them. And they just included me in everything. I never was like on a day off just sitting alone in the bus from my hotel. I was like, just like, yo, what are you doing? Let's go to this bar. What are you doing? Let's hang out. I became like great friends with all the band members, and to this day, not working for them, but still keep up with all of them, which is kind of cool. They definitely are a band that their crew is their family, and they have made the point of that like their whole career.
And that's a big thing that, I don't know about you, but before I got on tour, my goal is just to get on tour. And then you get on tour and you start having, more requirements for you to be on a tour. And I'm sure after you kind of tasted what it was like to be with a band and a crew that kind of included you in your family, it must be really hard, at least I'm assuming, to go back to not that. What was it like? I don't know, having that kind of feeling. Like, how did it change touring for you with them?
It definitely made it more fun. You'd get off a tour and be like, oh man, like I'm stoked to be home. I can remember like you see home on the day sheet, coming up. Matt Fly's day sheets were great. Like you saw what was coming ahead and you see home and be like, oh, I'm so stoked to go home. Been out for 2 months. And you get home, go to a bar, hang out with some friends. And then next morning you wake up and you're like, okay, well, I'm ready to go back to my other friends. Like, cause you come home and no one really understands your touring life. You kind of tell the stories and stuff. And they're like, yeah, whatever, that didn't happen. It's like, actually it did. But then you kind of feel like a jerk telling the stories sometimes. Like they don't believe me. So whatever. And then, you're kind of like, well, I just kind of miss being on the road with those guys. And, you got a group text going usually with the crew or the band and crew, whatever. And you're kind of just all talking. And you're like, yeah, well, we just kind of want to go back on tour again with, ATL guys. We were on tour like 300 days a year. It was just nonstop. So it was kind of like you were just friends, family, something was going on in your life. Everybody knew about it. And they're like kind of there to help you out.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's kind of like, when I was on tour, it felt like the friends I made out there were the only ones that could kind of rival the people I grew up with or my best friends from home. But other than that, I haven't made friends like that really in my adult life.
To this day, I may not have seen a crew member I toured with a band for 10 years. We still talk. It's insane. And especially from that crew, like the OG ATL crew is crazy. Like Vinny and stuff, still talk to him all the time. I haven't seen Vinny in probably 5-6 years, but we talk to him like monthly.
See you at his wedding?
He hasn't gotten married yet, so I haven't been there.
No, will I see you there?
Oh yeah, definitely. I'll be there.
All right, perfect.
Unless Kygo takes me away, then I gotta tend to that. But yeah, I'll be there for sure.
He'll understand. We know how it goes. I think that
exactly.
is a thing in the music
that's
industry.
The one downfall of touring is like you miss a lot of stuff at home, which is kind of one of the reasons I stopped touring full time for sure.
Yeah, so I mean, you've toured for 10 years with All Time Low or maybe some other artists along the way. Well, that was pretty much your whole life. How did your life change in a way where you maybe dialed back the touring? Like what entered your balance of life?
I mean, my life wasn't just touring through that whole time. I had a company at home, Soundworks, that was providing audio, lighting, video for local concerts, festivals. We did a lot of stuff for corporate work as well. We had tours going out.
So you're growing that remotely.
That's amazing. Which the touring world helped that tremendously because I got touring clients left and right. All the younger bands that were coming out opening for whatever band I was with was like, oh, we want to bring out an audio package. It's like, oh, we know Dan. He was awesome. He was like really nice to us on the road. Let's hit him up. So I grew a lot of touring clientele that way. But, speaking, go home from a tour, most crew guys are like, well, screw this. I'm shutting my phone off for a week and just like vegging out. And I'd be like, okay, well, tomorrow morning I'll be at the office at 8 a.m. And now I guess I'm just going to go back to working at home 9 to 5 and just catch up on what I could. And then it's like, okay, well, I leave for a tour tomorrow, but I'm going to be in the office till midnight catching up on things. And then I'm fly out 6 a.m., go on a tour for 2 months and then come back and do it all over again. So I kind of was getting burned out, to be honest, like, had relationship at home, trying to deal with, have that keep it going and tour. And at the end of my stretch with the ATL guys, I was production managing, tour managed them for a little bit, then went into production and just was like straight production managing the guys. And that's when they were doing arenas and whatnot. So that was just, that right there is a 24-hour job.
You're going to school kind of. I know you knew a lot of these things, but you were really tweaking or...
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I was kind of the perfect role because I own a company that does it all. So I do understand all aspects of production and how a show goes together because I'm the guy on the other side that, a production manager advances with. But yeah, it was nonstop. We'd be on a tour in Europe and I'd be advancing a tour in Australia, or then I'd be home and I'd be trying to like go to dinner with my girlfriend. And I'd be like, sorry, I got to take this phone call. The promoter rep from Japan's calling, and because it's noon there and it's midnight here or whatever it is. So it's just kind of like nonstop, just go. And finally, I was kind of like, I just kind of want to relax a little more. Not relax, but I got this company that's growing at home. It's kind of like my retirement plan. Like I didn't plan to tour my whole life. Kind of just quit the road. And ATL was the last band that I'd say I did like bus tours with per se, and stopped touring with those guys, came home, company's growing like crazy. So I was just like, became the 9 to 5 life, bought a house, got a dog, like mowing my own lawn, got like really into that stuff. And then I started to get the itch again to go out and do shows like that. So then I became in like the ultimate filling guy for any position. Like you could call Dan, he's not going to steal your gig, because that's like a big worry if you can't do a show. It's like, not that someone would intentionally steal your gig that you called, but what if they do a different job? Not so much a better job. They just like bring something different to the table, and all of a sudden, like you bring a monitor guy out, and the lead singer's like, oh, well, it sounded just different and kind of better. It wasn't like better, but it just sounded different, or like they vibe better with the guy you send out, or something weird happens. Like you never want to lose your gig. So I was like the guy that would get the phone calls. So I was like consistently filling in for different engineers all over.
Who'd you fill in for?
I believe I did some stuff for Charlie. Charlie still calls me Bybee, like for gigs all the time. He just called me about Rise Against a couple of months ago, and I ended up having a gig, so I couldn't do it. Do you know Kevin Flaza? Have you ever met him?
Yeah,
he was at PTV.
With him.
Yeah. So I was filling in with him all the time. Him and I kind of tag team doing this act Fifth Harmony. It's a pop group.
Yeah,
was a pop group. He was with them. Then he went, I think, back to Pierce the Veil. So I jumped in and did Fifth Harmony stuff, where it's like you go out for a little bit, come home. Gavin DeGraw was one of them. Andy Grammer did for a little bit, just fill in stuff. Like I do a show a month or 2 shows a month. Yeah, it was like perfect, because I didn't want to tour all the time. I just wanted to do some shows here and there that weren't local festivals or something like that, and just kind of like kept me sane and happy. Is, you know, kind of my happy time to go away. So yeah, I kept doing that for a while. And then my good friend slash probably one of my best friends, Matt Flyzik, shoots me a call one day, and he's like, hey man, I got this new gig. And I was like, yeah, I saw some photos of it. It looks like pretty massive. He's like, yeah, it's this at Kygo. He's a DJ. We have no audio crew, and we're headlining Austin City Limits next weekend. What are you doing? I was like,
no audio
I'm going
crew.
to Austin City Limits. Yeah, no audio crew. Not a single audio guy in this thing. And it's a DJ, but it's a DJ that has like a 8-piece string section play with him at one point, multiple singers. Like it's a show. It's not just, you know, DJ turning left, right, up and rocking out. So yeah, I flew out to Austin City Limits.
All right, wait, before you go forward, I want to ask you a little bit about getting the gig. Because I mean, I know for you, that is like, it's like a thing. It's like, oh, I got a gig, I'm going to go do it. But for other people, and I imagine it was a big upgrade for you, but you say it so casually, but one of your friends just hit you up and got you what some people would consider like one of the biggest jobs you could have in that area. Yeah,
I mean, Kygo's definitely an A-list artist. Back then, you know, he's making his way up to it, but now, like, you walk into a Menards, which you're from the Midwest, you know Menards. It's like a, you know, a home improvement store. Yeah, it's like one of my favorite stores. You walk in and like Kygo's playing on the fucking radio there. Like you walk in and it's like Kygo's on.
Menards.
Yeah, exactly. Love it. Love the jingle. So yeah, it's definitely I wouldn't call, you know, it's an upgrade. It's a big job, and that's, you know, going back to like when I started touring, Matt Flyzik gave me my first gig. Like, just remember me, the dude's from ATL. I was like, yeah, that guy's from Chicago. He's cool. Let's bring him out. Let's give him a shot. So
he trusted you.
Yeah, he trusted me. Molded that friendship with Matt. Matt and I took like a lot of ATL stuff back and forth. I wasn't production managing when Matt was around, but I was still helping him with it because he knew I knew a lot about it. Helping him with like logistics. So, you know, they started storing gear at my warehouse. They were taking all my audio out, taking lighting out from a company that's like down the street from me. So Matt knew I knew how to do all that stuff, and like really had my head in all the technology behind everything. And Matt was actually on a gig before that. I can't remember the act name.
It was something Showtech.
Showtech, that's it. Yeah, some Swedish DJs, and kept telling me like, "Hey man, when the time comes, like I need an audio guy. Like I want to bring you out. Like I trust you on this." And like it's that relationship building, and it goes all the way back to the days of like Mojo's in a dingy like 400 cap club, where like I just stuck around after the show, and like I didn't even drink back then. I just have like a Pepsi and like hang out with the band. Like
arguably crazier than alcohol. A whole Pepsi.
Exactly. Yeah. Or, you know, sit around, you know, just hang out and like shoot the shit, but like not be the annoying like person in their face. Like, yeah, this guy's this guy's coming in again. Like he's annoying.
Yeah.
Like we all know those people when we're out on the road. Like, yeah, we know this guy, he comes in, but like he's a little too extra.
He can't hang. He can't read the room. Exactly.
Reading the room. You need to know how to read the room when you're on the road. And if you're not reading the room, you're going to get sent home real fast. So yeah, it was just kind of like, and I kept up with Matt the whole time. And like I said, he just got this awesome gig. And I don't even know how he got the gig, to be honest. Shot me a call and was like, yeah, we're headlining Austin City Limits, which is not a small festival. It's like 80,000 cap. So the first show I do with this DJ, is like the first time I see Matt in years. We keep up texting and stuff, but like haven't seen him in a while. We're just headlining Austin City Limits, and the first time I literally see the show is in front of 80,000 people on Mix in Front of House, and I was like,
That's
okay, well
insane.
this is absolutely insane. And go straight from that to, I'd say, a half hour after the set, we're in a private jet flying to New York to do Meadows Fest and like load in overnight and do front of house. It was just like a whole different world. I was like, what is this? What am I doing right now?
I think that you and Flyzik relate on this gig. And I know he was doing something before this, but more or less both of you guys, I had talked to you after All Time Low and before you did this kind of stuff, or just gathered it from the internet. You kind of didn't retire, but you changed your career. Like you said, you wanted more of a home life and the things. What?
Yeah. I mean, I straight up, if you would have asked me back then, I said I retired. I'm done touring. Like I was burned out. I was going 10 months out of the year, we were gone. Like maybe you're home for 2 months, but not consecutively at all. And when I'm home, I'm like dealing with the fact I got a business partner who's trying to run the business. I got employees back home, and it's like, I come in and start trying to give, direction, and they're like, who the hell are you? Like, you haven't been here for the past 4 months. Like, why are you telling me what to do? We do it a different way here.
I was gonna say, what about Kygo for you? And you don't have to speak for Flyzik, but I'm sure there's similarities. Why did this artist in particular draw you back to the road?
So one of the biggest things, I'm not going to lie, it's a Weekend Warrior gig.
Can you define what that means?
Yeah, Weekend Warrior is like maybe Thursday, but normally Friday you fly out. You do a show Friday, Saturday maybe, and you're usually home Sunday or Monday. So I'm still at home. I'm in an office Monday through Thursday at the latest. Well, Friday at the latest. Maybe I leave Thursday, fly out, do a show, but lots of downtime. We'll sound check in the morning. It's almost all festivals. Here and there, we do some headliners, but it's not a bus tour. In fact, they did a bus tour, I want to say like 2017 or 2018. And I actually bowed out and I didn't do the show. I didn't do the tour. So they got a new guy and then brought me back in 2019 because they were like, oh, we're just doing one-offs this year. You want to do it again? I was like, yeah, sure. Let's go back out. It was fun. And again, awesome crew. There's not many original members from the crew from when I started. In fact, I think only Flyzik and one other guy are there from when I started back then. But all the new guys that are on are great. Lots of UK guys. I think we only have 3 of us or 4 of us from the US. Everybody else is from the UK.
Is Kygo UK?
He is from Norway.
Okay.
So he's based out of Norway. Very big in the States, though. In fact, this past year, every show but 3, I think, were in the States. That has a lot to do with COVID, though, too. A lot of Europe stuff got canceled. So, but yeah, that's one of the major draws. And also, it's just massive festivals he does, and he headlines these things. I mean, we're talking like 40,000 cap is one of the smallest fests he does, all the way up to 100-something thousand people. And like, Adam, you do big shows. Like when the lights go down and the crowd roars, like that's what fuels what people like us do. Is that it's obviously doing our job and like going to different cities is cool, but for me at least, when the lights go down and the crowd goes nuts, I'm like, okay, cool. This is awesome. Like I'm back in my home. I know what I'm doing here. This is where I belong.
Do you think that when you do you relate how you feel with Kygo to kind of how you felt when you started with All Time Low? Like, did it kind of achieve that feeling of like, oh, I'm doing the next step again? Like I'm feeling.
Definitely. Yeah. 100%. If not even a little more, maybe. I don't know. It's just kind of like brought me back to my home base when I started back up with Kygo. And, I wasn't just filling in here or there. It's like, okay, I got a schedule ahead of me that I'm doing. And, although it does stress me out from time to time, it felt like it was right.
And what's it like? Like we're going to get talking about, touring with COVID. That's kind of the vibe today. But I wanted to know what it was just like touring with the Kygo team in general. Because I know DJ World a little bit, but I mostly come from bus tours like with bands, and we can relate on All Time Low. What's it like touring with an artist of this size? Do you think you could break it down party wise and how you guys travel?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's totally different. Artist, obviously a party, being Kygo, manages it out with him a lot, so they're a party. Tour manager, a party, but also overseeing all of the parties. Sometimes travels with a party, sometimes I would probably be called C party, which is the crew. Our B party is all of the guest singers that come in, because there's, DJs make their hits off of remixing other people's music. But what Kygo does is mainly it's all unheard of people, takes their tracks, makes it his own. But we have them out then and sing the songs.
They come to every show?
Well, it's all different people all the time. Like it might be only one singer that does 2 songs on a show, or like we just did Bank of California. We just
Yeah.
did that, headlining it, and we had like 12 singers out on that.
That's what happens when you go to LA. Everybody
Yeah,
lives
exactly.
here.
100%. Yeah. But if it's a bigger headliner, we have more people out. That's your B party, who A party's traveling like private jet on their own time. Just they know when they got to be there. They like to switch up their plans, and TM has to deal with that when plans get switched up, and does a great job of dealing with it. They're the artists. They're the ones that are out there. We're working for them, so they do whatever they want. And then B list, B party, they fly in. If they're in the same city as A party, they'll fly on the jet usually, and then or they'll fly whatever airline in. And they have a different schedule, like day sheet wise. You got an A party, day sheet, B party, and C party.
Oh, that's cool.
Because we're all doing different things during the day. C party, if we're doing a festival, lighting and video go in, and our stage manager at like 1 a.m. to load in, because we sound check at like 7 a.m. We have to be on sound checking by 10 because doors are at 11. So they work overnight, especially lighting and video, just so lighting can do their focus at nighttime, because our show's at nighttime. You can't really focus.
They can't see it during the day.
Yeah. They come in at 8 a.m. with us and they can't see anything. We have a whole different schedule that A party has no clue what it is usually, I'm sure. They know we're out working and doing stuff, but like they don't know what time we're there doing anything. And they frankly don't have to know that. That's why we're there. We're just there to get the show done. Yeah, DJ World could be weird though. Like he could do a festival and then fly and do a club show, and then fly and do another club show sometimes. He might rack up 3 shows in a day, or there's like a private party in the afternoon, fly to a festival, and then fly out to Vegas and do a club show that night. And they're just like, and that's something that the C party crew wise, unless we're doing one of those shows, we know nothing about it. Because like if he goes out and does a DJ set, I'm not with him 99% of the time, unless it's a bigger festival. But like Vegas club shows, like I don't go for that. They don't need someone like me for that.
Yeah, that's pretty. They go through the motions for those things, right? Everything's kind of automated.
Exactly, everything's there. I mean, when it comes to DJs, Vegas is like the world of DJs, and everything's just pretty much like turn up the DJ and turn up his mic, and that's what you get. So you don't need to pay someone like me to be there.
It's like their office job. Clock in, clock out.
Exactly, 100%, man, 100%. And you know what? To be honest, that's cool, because I love not being super busy when it comes to road stuff. I could be at home. Summertime is my crazy season back in Chicago. I'm usually working 12 hours a day in the office, just making sure logistics are happening and gear is getting where it's going and people are doing what they're doing. And for me to be gone even more, it's a lot of stress on me. So trying not to stress out too much.
You found the perfect setup, it sounds like.
It's kind of is. Yeah. I love the country world too. And Country World does the Weekend Warrior stuff. Yeah. So it's kind of like, if I found a country gig, and I have a buddy who went from the pop punk world to country, and he tried to throw some my way, but I don't live in Nashville. So it just doesn't work, because Nashville is the home for that. And your Weekend Warriors, you hop on the bus Thursday night and the bus drops you off Monday morning in Nashville. So they don't want to fly a guy in or out. They're like, no, Nashville local, then you're good.
Sounds like it's time for you to get a second house.
Yeah, well, with the company, I can't leave. I got 2 companies here now, so I'm like
congrats.
stuck in Chicago. Not that I love Chicago by any means, I do, but it's also 10 degrees out right now. So
yeah, I do not miss those winters. But respect to you for. I think it's pretty awesome how you're able to balance creating a company at home while being on the road. And for people who do go on the road, I mean, I'm sure you would suggest it, but it's nice to have things you're doing outside of touring. Like touring is very much your day hustle, but all these people you meet and everybody you get to network with, those people enable you, like your great example, to do whatever you want in the industry, really, and they'll help.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's all about relationships you make on the road, even with venues and stuff like that. Chicago venues, we do a lot for them. And I met a lot of them just touring, not even because I lived in Chicago, because, I'd just be some random guy calling them, be like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, I don't need to talk to you. There's a million companies out here. But then I'd meet them at a show that I was doing with a touring act. And like, oh yeah, no, cool. Oh, you own that company? Yeah. Give me a call on Monday. We'll like talk about this, or let's go grab lunch one day, and just kind of like mold a relationship back here and just more work with the company. So
it's amazing what FaceTime does with people, assuming that FaceTime is a positive thing for the human being. It's like so crazy.
It can do good things and do really bad things too.
Yes. I've been on the receiving and delivering side of both those things, intentionally and unintentionally, but it happens. Okay, cool. Well, I mean, when I originally hit you up, I was like, I wanted to know how COVID affected touring. I also wanted to know what touring was like with Kygo because I didn't really know on that level what it looked like fully, and we hadn't really had somebody on here to go into the details. We had Fizek on, but he was like
Yeah.
defining his job too.
Yeah, I mean, I could dive more into the Kygo thing you want too. I mean, like the day to day on that. I know you had some day to day from Matt on that too, when you guys chatted with him. But I have a different day to day than he has with him. You know, that's like every crew member does.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so I mean, we've had a lot of different types of tours on here. We've talked about vans, we talked about jets, we've talked about buses, but on a day to day schedule, first of all, I guess, what's your official role with Kygo? Are you your monitors?
So I'm monitors slash kind of head of audio. You know, we have a front of house guy who definitely has been with him for a while.
Okay.
I just kind of look over advances, and you know he does too. So I monitors. Let's just call me monitors. Don't want to
Monitors. All right. And what's your guys like? Can you walk us through a day in the life? And I don't know if you have any fun stories because I mean I loved hearing about just hey we got in a private jet and did this. That stuff's so cool to me.
Yeah,
Not
definitely.
to be cliche, but I love that shit. It's just so wild, different from normal life.
Yeah, I mean the gig is different from normal life, that's for sure. And we have kind of some different stages of gigs. We do everything from like a private party in the backyard to somebody's house, which is usually way bigger than anybody's backyard or even, you know, my whole block.
Because the person who can afford that, it's not
exactly.
You know?
Yeah. And those are, you know, those days are pretty easy. Like you fly in the night before, you show up. Usually during the day, COVID has changed some stuff where like you always get tested for COVID before walking on the property of anybody. And then you do like a quick sound check. Artist is never there for sound check. Almost never there, I should say. Very rarely, which is totally fine. But that's why we're there to make sure that he could just walk in and everything's the same. Then go back to a hotel, hang out for a bit. Then go back to the show, do the show, 90-minute set. You're there for maybe like 2.5 hours all in. Then go back to the hotel and hang. So there's a lot of like downtime, especially private party world. Like you're at the hotel a lot.
Sit around and wait, hurry up and wait.
Yeah, a lot of hurry up and wait, but a lot of like time to just walk around and do things too. Like when you're on a bus tour and you're production managing, like you walk into the venue at 6 a.m. and you don't walk out of the venue until 2 a.m. It's like it's dark when you go in, dark when you go out, and you don't do anything that like a normal touring, like guitar tech, they get some downtime. They go out and like go to dinner or like hang out and walk around. Like the last 2-3 years of me touring on buses, I never was able to do that.
Okay. Because you're doing production manager?
Yeah. I was inventing all the time. So it's kind of cool to do that. Like I was in New York a couple months ago doing a gig. It was a private party. We had some downtime and like I just walked around and like walked from my hotel to Times Square. I'm like, wow, I never did this before. I've been in New York like 40 times. I don't think I've ever been to Times Square. So it's kind of cool.
Be a tourist.
Yeah, exactly. You know, the private party world, kind of doing stuff like that. That's that realm. Also, you never know what time the show is going to be. You know what time the show is going to be, but you could be playing at 7 or you could like 3 a.m. It all depends on what you're doing.
Is the thought process behind, you know how you said like he doesn't sound check, or maybe not specifically him, but the artist of this size, they don't sound check. They just show up and it's kind of ready to go. Is the thought process here like this guy's time is just worth so much money that like if we can just have him come in, do the show and leave, it's just, you know, maybe he can do a Vegas show before, or he can live his life. Is that kind of the vibe?
I think it's more like just live his life and do something else. You know, there's no point. He doesn't need to. He has a crew that's there that's paid to like make sure it's right. We'll have vocalists come in and sound check. I guess I could roll to like a festival world type thing where we get on site at, you know, 8 a.m. in the morning, maybe a little earlier or a little later, give or take, and walk in, introduce myself to the local crew. We don't carry any gear really. So it's making sure all the gear is right, kind of set up what I need to do.
Can you explain what that means? I know that's normal for you, but like, what's the difference between carrying gear and not carrying gear?
So like if you're on a bus tour or take it like an arena tour, you're going to have multiple trucks that have all the audio, lighting, video in it. So you're carrying the same kit, they call it, to every single show. So it's like, it's my same desk every day. It's set up how I want it. Now you could get that desk anywhere in the world, but just setting it up the way you want it, you know, it works, you know, everything's cabled correctly. When you're doing like, especially DJ world, where we're not doing a tour and we're doing these one-offs all the time, everything is advanced locally. So the local production company, which is what I am back in Chicago, has to provide exactly what your rider says.
So they order it.
Order it in. Yeah. I mean, it's not to the T. There's lots of like give or takes on it because sometimes we don't have that here. You're doing a show in, Mexico somewhere and they don't have that specific piece of equipment. They have to, freight it in from somewhere else. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, we could use this other thing. That's fine. So sometimes your day is very easy when you walk into a fest and it's like, it's all there. It all works. Sometimes it's all there and none of it works correctly. And it's like, man, my day just sucks today. And sometimes like,
what do
it's
you
not
do?
even there. I mean, that's my job. Just make it work. Figure out how to make it work without, there's never been a show that has not happened. It's just sometimes it's very stressful. I remember being in China once and like the board was there, but the power supply wasn't there. And I just threw my hands up and I'm like, I'm just done. Like, what the hell is going on here? Like this, I think I yelled something like, my console doesn't run on fucking hopes and dreams or something like that. And I just like walked away. And it's just like, just because half of it's there doesn't mean the show's going to happen. Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
And, it showed up and the show happened. There was probably no sound check or something, but it's just like, you never know what you're walking into. You could advance for days upon days and you just don't know what's going to happen.
Do you think all industries are like this, or is it just the music industry that's fucking nutty? Because I always hear the craziest stories and I feel like it must parallel into other industries and we don't know about it.
Man, I mean, maybe I can't think off the top of my head, besides like the construction industry that has like you're walking in somewhere and there's this much gear there, like this much product that is you need to get in every freaking city you go to. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if like a construction guy comes in and he's like, you got the wrong freaking cement truck. Like, what the hell, man? Like, I don't know.
These are 2x4s. I wanted 4x2s. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. I guess he got you there. Yeah. You're trying to build a house. You got the wrong wood, cut some corners there. So that's like the start of the day with a festival world. Like, right away as you're walking up, like, yeah, today's going to be great or today is going to be just terrible. But the good thing is like, if it's terrible, it's only one day and then like it's over and you're on to the next one. So yeah, we'll sound check. We bring in the string orchestra that plays with him and sometimes some vocalists show up. But if it's a vocalist that's on like most of the gigs, they'll like text the TM and be like, hey, do I need to come in? And they're like, nah, the crew doesn't care. You're fine. Okay, cool. I'm not going to come in. Because they know too. It's like
so casual.
It's kind of is casual. When I started at first, it wasn't. It was more like, hey, we want to be there. We want to sound check. Still the artist, Kygo didn't come in, but like all the artists did. Now they're all just comfortable. Like they see Dan's doing monitors, Ed's front of house. Like they see the crew all the time. They're like, you guys got this. And in fact, one of the singers a couple shows ago was like, I used to come in and sound check because I thought it was for you guys. And I'm like, yeah, no, we don't need you to sound check ever, man. We got this. And he's like, okay, cool. I'm never coming again. I was like, cool, fine. I'm like, you actually help our day because we just be done sooner when you're not here. Like, if you want to come out, cool. Like, we're here to do it, but you don't actually have to come out.
That's really funny thinking about like he was trying to, they were trying to help you and you were trying to help them, but really
exactly.
you just had to have
like
a conversation.
The miscommunication there and little conversations like, cool. So yeah, we just, make sure the gear is good. I deal with a lot of like wireless in-ears, wireless mics, like actually a lot on this show. So I got to do all the like making sure that's all clean and I have frequencies that are working and work, coincide with the local crew and make sure it's good, which, if you're in the States and everybody's speaking English, it's great. But you go down to Mexico or South America and they're speaking different languages and they kind of speak English, but kind of don't. That could be like a real pain sometimes.
Thank God for Google Translate.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely used that before. Dealing with like the A-list artist world, not as much of an issue because you're usually getting the best company that's out there.
Yeah, there's more money.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, we just did a couple Mexico shows and the same company did it. And the head of the company guy that owns it, I've become kind of buddies with when I go down there and just like, I always know the day is good when he's on site. Like, okay, cool.
That's
good.
Great.
We're all good. Yeah. You see him or you see his name on the advance. Like, yeah, we're all good. We'll be good. But yeah, like say we load in at 8:00 by noon, I'm back at a hotel and like doing whatever I want until probably 8 p.m. at night. Like we just did Cancun for, it's like a private festival type thing down there right before Christmas.
That's a concept. Private festival.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Yeah, can't really get into too much of it, but it's like a company's Christmas party pretty much. And it's a festival on the beach with just some massive artists. So it's kind of cool. And we've done it twice now. They liked us so much, we came back again.
That is awesome.
So yeah, like myself and a bunch of the crew just got like a little crew group text going and we just hung out on the beach and I was drinking like a Mai Tai out of a coconut. Like it's like a sound check like a half hour ago and now I'm doing this and then like go to, it was like all inclusive resort. So like go have some dinner. We had like a steak dinner that night before the show. And then like a golf cart picked us up to bring us over to the stage. We did this show there. Then we went back and like hung at a bar for a bit. Every show is not like that, but
Hey, 2 a year, you're still living large. I don't know why you haven't done Robot Mosh Fest Cancun yet, but
we got to bring that back, man. It'd be great. I would do it for the nostalgia, and I'd probably just be mad the whole time.
Just Misery Signals playing 7 times in a row.
Yeah, exactly. Or like Cowboy Decapitation or whatever.
Cattle Decapitation?
Cattle Decapitation. Yeah. I remember that news story, like bands like Cattle Decapitation are going to be playing and the parents are going to let their kids go to this. And like, we're trying to shut this down. And to be honest, like they're all the nicest people in the world. Like no one's
That's a vegan band from San Diego. All they sing about is veganism.
It's insane. Like everybody's so nice. Their names are crazy and people think like they worship the devil, but they're like the nicest people ever you'll meet. I don't know. Yeah, that's like the day in the festival world. And then, that's like most of them a little more intense, but you have a lot of downtime, which is cool. Crew's pretty much like family there too. Like we talk all the time. And then if we're doing a headliner, that's a whole different story. Like that's you load in early, you're there all day at the venue till the show hits, then you're on the loadout. Like it's kind of nice. You're not usually pushing cases like crazy or anything like that, but you're directing your gear out and stuff like that.
Yeah, you're kind of more like in charge of your area, but not necessarily.
Yeah, definitely. Because we're not touring. So it's still like a local company providing everything. And there's local hands and whatnot. But like I'm there early enough to make sure that my gear gets set up the way I want it set up. So I don't show up later, which I could if I wanted to, and no one would be mad at me about it. But my gear wouldn't be set up exactly how I want it. So I would be like not stoked to do a show that way.
No, that makes sense. Well, I mean, in the interest of time, let's move forward to talking about kind of how COVID affected your world. And I know it affected some people in a way where everything got canceled. They couldn't tour at all. It was mostly bus tours or people doing touring like that. But for you guys, you were able to tour through COVID. I don't know. Why don't you walk me through the timeline of how it worked? Because we're going on 3 years now.
I'm trying to remember the timeline myself, man. We talk about like 2019 like it was 10 years ago. It's nuts. 2019 was like my best year. Kygo was killing it. We're doing shows all the time. My company was just like running like a well-oiled machine. We were like breaking groundbreaking numbers that we've never done before. I think we did some like staggering 1,500 shows that year or something like that.
Holy shit.
It was just a lot. We had like corporate world, festival world, all that going. And then like beginning of 2020 was awesome. We were ramping up. I remember I was doing a fest with Kygo. It's a golf fest down in Waste Management Open, it's called.
Like the garbage people.
It is, yeah. But it's like a golf tournament that the 19th hole is set up like a stadium and people, you would think you're at the Super Bowl. They're like screaming at these golf, like egging them on, like, come on, let's do this. Like golf normally is quiet. It's like a party there. So Kygo was playing like the after festival to, they do like a couple shows afterwards. So we did the after fest. And on the way down there, we're all hearing about this like COVID thing in China. And it's kind of funny. Like on the way down, like I'm reading about it on the plane, and on the way back, there's like people in full blown like gas masks and hazmat suits sitting on the plane, like
just DIY anti-COVID.
Yeah, and I'm
suits.
like, this is what's gonna happen here. Who knows? And like 2 weeks later, the world like just shut down. On the like touring front, like wasn't even kind of worried about that because my company went from having like 1,000 shows booked to like I just shut my phone off because the depression like kicked in tenfold. It just rang every 5 seconds. Like we're ripping up this contract. We're not doing this. We're not doing that. Like no one was even taking a second to think about it. It was just like, no, we're done. We're not doing anything this year. So that year was 2020. Yeah, we didn't do anything else with Kygo that year. That was just done. My company actually started, we were like molding and doing some like virtual events, which was cool. We did some virtual concerts. We kind of changed one of the bays in the warehouse into like a little concert venue and did some like local Chicago music in there and like some just like cover tribute bands, kind of like, hey, do a virtual tip jar. We're not doing anything. Our guys just want to mix a band, like come in and do this. It's kind of like a learning tool for like text and stuff to like learn the video aspect of things and live streaming. So that's kind of like 2020 doing that. We did some like driving concerts and driving graduations and stuff. We kind of just did whatever.
Got creative.
I'm not even going to lie, man. We did driving funerals. It was nuts. Like we're setting up LED walls for like funeral services.
That's kind of sad.
It is. And I talk about like a terrible, like I was like a sales guy for this thing too. I was like, props to people that own funeral homes, because I don't know how they do it. Like, I just wanted to be like, we'll do this for free because I feel so bad for you, but like I can't. But it was a service that was needed. Like, people needed to grieve, and kind of helped out with that, I guess. I don't know. People were booking it. So 2020, like, honestly, on a personal note, it was like a good, I needed a break at that point. I like hit my max. I was like, just stayed at home, did some home rehab projects, cut my grass, hung out with my dog. Like, it's kind of like loved that life.
Live some life
For a little bit. Yeah. I had a life had a life in COVID, like had a life alone at home, but whatever. Lots of FaceTime, lots of like crew FaceTime chats at night and stuff like that. Kind of fun. Kept like the Kygo crew. We just kept like a group chat going, and like we do like Friday roadie Fridays, and like just everybody have a cocktail together and like FaceTime and just shoot the shit about what's going on, which is kind of fun because half the guys are in the UK. So it was like 1 a.m. when we do this call, and they're just like loving life at that point.
You guys got Kygo to play it, right?
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, we got him in on all this too. He was DJing. It was great. Then come 2021, this past year, we started doing some Kygo gigs, like private parties and stuff like that. Like, things were opening up again, kind of dabble in some private parties here and there. It kind of got that re-going. And then we did Red Rocks, I want to say it was June. And that was the first official show back. Did like a week's worth of rehearsing before.
Flyzik told me about something where you guys had a piano like lifted onto a mountain.
Oh, that's the live stream. Oh yeah, it was kind of crazy. Like, none of us, only 2 crew guys were there because they had to quarantine for 11 days or 14 days or whatever. So the pyro guy and the musical director went out, and that's the one where they flew. He was literally on the side of the Alps in Norway, I think, DJing. The backdrop looked like it was fake, and it wasn't. And they flew his custom acrylic piano in underneath a helicopter. So like he's DJing, and all of a sudden you just see this piano dangling behind, like a grand piano dangling behind him, and they like come land it. He plays his song on it, and then like show's over. So that's kind of crazy.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I just thought I just had the memory of Flyzik. But anyway, yeah, Red Rocks.
Red Rocks. It was nuts. Sold out. It was the first official sold out show they did there. They dabbled in some smaller, like half capacity stuff before we did it. But yeah, we like rehearsed for a week. It was awesome. Like, the whole crew was back. We were, I shouldn't say the whole crew was back, because there was still like travel issues between UK and US. So I know, and I'm not involved in this, just from hearing that like some UK guys had to go like quarantine in Barbados for 2 weeks because that was the only way to get in the US. And they're like vital pieces of the show. So they couldn't go direct from the UK to the US because of the like travel ban. So we had some like filling guys, which was actually kind of fun. We had some ATL crew out on it. We had Phil Gornell doing front of house, and Greco was our stage manager. So it was like kind of cool. Like, it's like an ATL crew reunion doing a show as well.
Yeah. Thank you, COVID, for this reunion.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, it was kind of crazy. Of course, missed like the normal crew, but kind of cool having some guys back in. But that was like epic, if you want to say that. Like, it was just a huge Red Rock show, sold out. Awesome venue to do a show at to begin with. And then you add in the fact that it's the first show you've done like that in over a year and a half. And it was just like great. And that kind of just like broke the seal when it came to shows for us. We just started doing shows all the time.
Because you kind of figured out it was possible, and I'm sure you worked through the risks and how to minimize them and how to make it work.
Yeah, definitely. And every show had its different precautions put forward for it. I feel like I've been tested more than anybody I know when it comes to COVID. Have to get like a rapid PCRs before I fly out to make sure I'm not contagious or I don't have it without symptoms or something like that, because you don't want to get everybody sick and whatnot. But yeah, it kind of like this past summer, I saw that with a lot of festivals. A lot got pushed to like later dates, like EDC. Vegas was in the fall, and I think that's normally in the spring. So we did it in the fall.
It's still wild to me that happened, because they're still canceling stuff this year, like UK tours,
which is kind of insane. Yeah, I mean, EDC Vegas, there's like no limitations, 100,000 people. It was nuts. I'm like walking around with my mask everywhere. Like, I don't want to get sick. I got to do another show tomorrow. Like, yeah, kind of crazy. Like, kind of from a personal front, my girlfriend and her daughter got COVID, and neither of them got sick, no symptoms, but they tested positive. And I was like, well, I can't see you for 2 weeks because I fly out every weekend and do shows. And like, I'd have to tell someone you guys had it, and like, I just wouldn't be able to go because I can't like risk getting everybody else sick.
So did you get a hotel or they don't
No,
live with you?
I just don't live together. So, I just didn't go to
Okay,
the
yeah.
house, yeah, definitely. Would have gotten a hotel if I needed to. That kind of changed it. Like, oh, I was exposed to somebody. Okay, let me go get tested 10 times or something like that. Like, just make sure I don't have it. And like I said, different shows, like promoters all have different rules. It seems like every state has a different rule. So trying to figure out like what's the rule in this state, and every country has a different rule for that matter. We went to Mexico, and the rules to get back to the States changed while we were in Mexico. So it was like trying to get through that. And we went to the airport, and I got through like no issue at all. But the guys who had UK visas to get to the States had like, they sat checking in for like an hour. I just like hung out waiting for them. They were coming to the States. They were going to hang out in the States. We had a show coming up later on that week, but it just took forever because they were UK citizens. And it's just, a lot of people don't, new rules come in, and then people at airports don't understand the rules even. And it's just kind of crazy.
There's a little bit of a lag to it. And touring is already a logistical nightmare. I mean, you guys have a really good team and it's all set up very well and it probably flows really nicely, but adding an extra step like this to everything must have been, I mean, how thankful were you to not be the tour manager?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I know our TM, Matt, it's just trying to figure it out all the time. And having an artist that's from Norway doesn't help either because they have different rules. And it's like, can they even come in? And, having
can they
crew
go
from
home?
the UK and trying to figure and exactly, can they go home? Like, we were all in Mexico a couple of weeks ago. And it was like, if we tested positive down there, we'd have to quarantine for 14 days there. They wouldn't let us back in the States. And it's like, we were coming up on Christmas. So we're all like, well, I really hope I don't test positive because I'm spending Christmas alone in Mexico in a hotel room. It's in Cancun, so there's worse ways to do it. But, you want to be a family on Christmas,
I'm just picturing Americans sneaking in to America. Like, I know that
that's exactly what it is, man. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Like, it's not like we're trying to cross the border shadily. Like, we're just like, I want to go home. Like, how can I fake my negative test? I guess. I don't know. Which, luckily no one got stuck there, but that's a thing. And then on a TM standpoint, they have to deal with that then. Like, that becomes their problem as well. It's not just like, okay, well, see you later, Joe. Have fun in Mexico for 2 weeks. No, you got to figure that out. And then there's the whole,
they're not
like,
stranded.
Yeah, exactly.
A good TM figures it out. A really bad TM would just be like,
yeah, a really bad TM's
bro.
like, yeah, see you later, man. Rent a car if you want, drive over the border, whatever. Have fun. See ya.
And I'm sure we've all been on the receiving end of a bad TM where you're like, wait, what's happening?
Yeah, definitely, 100%.
Maybe not you. You've worked with Flyzek most of your career, but
yeah. No, I've had some bad ones. Hopefully I was never a bad one, but who knows? Maybe I was. We all learned.
I've got your review cards right here. We can go through them together from all.
Yeah, exactly. That'd be great. I feel like I kind of want to send that sometimes to people. Like, can you review what I did? And don't just put I was good. I want to actually know, was I good or did I
have
really
an
mess something
interest
up
of getting better. Like, can you help me? Good,
cool?
Good friends should do that.
Was I a good friend on the road? Like, did you like hanging out with me afterwards, or was I just misery? I don't know.
And as you're saying this, I'm like imagining what I consider a really good crew member, and to me, it's always somebody. Flyzek is a really good example. It's somebody who does their job, makes sure that does their job effortlessly, never makes their job your job, and is always in a good mood and a good hang. I think like that's the boxes. And if you could do all those things, which is hard, but
especially when you're in a role like a PM or a TM where like you're just stressing most of your day. A lot of your day is just stress. You have to deal with it well. And I'll be honest, like I had to figure out how to do that. And I still have to figure out how to do that daily. Like just let the stress roll off and be like, the show will go on. Some band members yelling at me because they need something, they want kombucha or something like that, whatever the hell it's called. I don't know.
Kombucha.
We're in
fermented what?
We're in like southern Alabama and they're like, what you talking about? We don't got that stuff here. Like,
we want a vegan meal too. You're like, it's not
exactly. Well, that's the thing too. You get catering and all that. You got to make sure everybody's fed correctly. And, on a touring front, like, I have some like digestive issues and stuff. Like I have a disease that like makes it really hard to tour. And I still figured out how to do it. It just sucked. And like, I never tried to be a burden on a TM ever about it. I can't eat this. I can't do it. Like, I just want to figure it out on my own.
Team player.
Yeah, exactly. You got to be a team player. You got to be able to like you said, check all the boxes to where you do your job. You don't make your job anybody else's. And when you get on the bus or get back to the hotel afterwards, like you're a cool hang. You're not just like, we all have our nights where it's like, peace out, I'm going to bed.
Yeah, I need to watch 3 movies.
Exactly. You can't do that every night. You need to go out
Yeah.
and hang. And like, I even find myself like forcing, especially in the DJ world, because sometimes our shows don't end till like 3 a.m. It's like,
Yeah.
I got to force myself and be like, no, I'm going to go hang with the guys for a little bit. Like, I'm going home tomorrow. It's fine. I'll just hang with the guys and chill for a bit.
Hey, that's great. I wanted to ask, like I did an episode, which I had initially hit you up for, called Tour Tales, which is just people telling stories of being on the road.
I saw you tag me on that, and life was just a little busy back when
It's
that
fine.
happened. And it was like, no, I got to hit him up, and now things are a little slow. So
No, it's nice because we got you on for a full episode. But, you know, I started this podcast, or I'm doing this podcast as an educational thing. And I like learning about, you know, all the technical stuff we talked about. But I do like learning people's stories too. And I don't want to gloss over that. Do you have, I know it's a broad question, but do you have any, I don't know, embarrassing's always fun because I like learning from other people's like.
I got
really
a good
big
embarrassing one of you.
What?
A little bit embarrassing for you. Not terribly embarrassing, but it's a decent one. Yeah.
What did I do?
It pops up on my memories on my iPhone once a year, and it's great. I love iPhone memories because it's like the ones you definitely don't post on Facebook. And we did, and I don't know if you did both of these. It was ATL. We somehow did St. Patrick's Day in Dublin twice.
Does this involve a green thing?
What's that?
Never mind. I'll let you tell the story. Yeah, I remember.
No, I remember your green thing where you like ran out on stage in that or something like that. Right? Was that a thing? I don't know. I know the first one was like chill. Like we went out, we hung chill. I mean, we went out St. Patrick's Day. There's a great photo you took with like some massive selfie stick you had of like, it was like find us. It was like all 4 of us or something. I was there, you were there. I don't know who else. It's like find us in this massive mob of people, which like COVID days feel like that would never happen again, but who knows?
Yeah.
But one of them, we were taking off on the buses. We had hotels for some reason. I can't remember. Maybe like, I have no clue why we had hotels, but we all had hotel rooms. And I was leaving, but you were staying for some reason. You didn't go on with us.
Oh, if this is in Dublin, I think I had to stay because it was like the last show of the tour or something. And Alex had a DJ set that night.
Okay. That might've been what it was. So you were staying, but like you didn't have a room for some reason. I'm really confused on why it all happened, but I was like, dude, just take my room. You're like, cool. And, you know, it was St. Patrick's Day. So, of course, we were all out drinking. And I just remember getting a video from you of you just jumping in my bed in your underwear, just jumping in your bed, and you just sent it to me. Just ran. That's all you did. And I was like, all right, cool. So now once a year on St. Patrick's Day, I get all the photos from that and that one random video.
Oh, send me that video. I don't have
so
it.
long ago. And we were on like Edge service over there. It's all grainy and stuff. So on St. Patrick's Day, I'll make sure I send you that video.
That sounds like something I would do. I have no memory of it, but that sounds like something I would do. And I was probably just like, this is fun. Thanks for the room. Yeah, that's cool. That's very nice of you.
That's one for you. Dublin was always a good time. I remember going out. Greco from ATL and I were like best friends. We hung out all the time, and we just like, you know, St. Patrick's Day, have some drinks, and we like commandeered a horse-drawn carriage.
Like you were in charge of it?
We just paid this guy. Who knows? Probably stupid money at that point. And we were like,
all your PDs.
Pretty much, yeah. PDs were just gone, and we just had this guy take us everywhere. And this guy was just like, just whatever we wanted. We were like sitting up, like driving the horse thing, like mushing the horses and stuff.
That's amazing.
Yeah, like just fun. I don't know. We just went out and did so much stupid stuff. Like I remember showing up to a dinner that like record label reps were at. And it was in Paris.
Paid for.
Well, yeah, exactly. And it was in Paris, and I took Uber scooter there. So I just like showed up to like a label rep dinner on a scooter, and management was there and like, what the hell are you doing? I was like, I just took an Uber here. What do you want, man? Like, it's the only thing I can get, like Uber scooter. Yeah.
I just think that tour generates these situations where you're in a place that would usually cost a lot of money, but it doesn't because you're working. And then you have free time and you have some money because you're working. And you kind of feel this invincibility that's false.
100%, man. You feel invincible everywhere. It's like, I'm going to walk down the street with a cup of Jack Daniels in my hand and no one's going to care about it because I'm invincible. And it's like, you're not, and it's false. But for some reason, like you just get away with it all the time. Yeah.
I feel like the amount you get caught is, you imagine it's much more than it actually is in practice. Have you ever had something that you did have repercussions for on the road? Or have you been pretty lucky?
No, I don't know. So like the one time I had a repercussion, we were in Australia doing Soundwave, rest in peace. And Blink was doing a sideshow. So we went out to watch it. And it was like band and crew went out, and I popped a mint into my mouth and practically got tackled by private police officers because they
thought it was drugs.
100%. And I remember like the band like getting up and like, yo, what are you doing? And like pulling tour laminates and like, I don't know if Flyzik was with us then or what, but like I literally like sober as can be. Like I just popped a freaking Tic Tac in my mouth and these guys practically tackled me. And that was the only time, like only running with the law ever on the road was that.
My God.
And it was like, and finally, like it took a little, there was like questioning and stuff about them. Like, look, they're in my pocket. You could take them out of my pocket, man. It was freaking Tic Tac.
Do you,
like,
want,
you want one? Yeah,
Yeah.
Your breath kind of smells. You want one too? Like, go for it. But that was the only one. And that like, you know, I still felt invincible after that. Nowadays, though, like, you know, we're in Mexico City a couple months ago, and I'm like, yeah, I don't really want to go out because, like, I'm kind of smarter now, and like, I could just get abducted here. Like, I know too much. Like, I could just get thrown in prison for nothing down here because I like looked at someone wrong or like said the wrong thing. Like,
or didn't have enough money to pay somebody off.
Exactly. Well, yeah, and down there, that's like a thing when you're touring, especially like South America, Russia. Like, you just kind of,
oh God,
your
Russia.
gear needs to go from place to place. Like, you gotta have some money to pay people off to make sure it happens.
Definitely have paid people off in Russia. That place is scary, and it happens
Yes,
so
same
casually.
here.
They just come up to you and they're like, "We need money," or arresting you, and you're like, okay.
Brazil, man. Brazil one time. We were on a tour and all of our Pelicans and gear came out on the turnstile at the airport with locks on it. And someone walked up and like, you need these locks off? And we're like, yeah. And they're like, you know, $5,000. He's like, what? Oh, what? Yeah. Like you just, yeah, that's a
You
thing.
work with the airport? That's so wild to me.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, even like freighting gear around too, like that's built in, like there's like a built in, just like, if you get someone asking for money, it's already built into your price. We don't even have to tell you. You don't even know what happens type thing. Yeah. I've heard some crazy stories from the girl that I used to like freight everything around the world. And she's like, yeah, no, like sometimes like those overnight shipments in Southeast Asia or, you know, kind of like sketch countries, we just build in like $5,000 to $10,000 on them just because we know we're going to have to pay off people left and right to get it over borders. It's crazy.
Dude, the music industry in the touring sense is wild.
Yeah,
you do
it definitely is.
It's just
the
wild.
amount of stuff. Like, I mean, a normal person goes to a show and they're like, this is sweet. And they have no clue that like, they think that like gear just hangs in that arena all the time. Like a band just comes and plays on it and leaves. They have no clue that there's someone on that bus that wakes up and they're in there at 5 a.m. like meeting local crew, going over the whole game plan. And they're in there until 2 o'clock in the morning when the last door shuts. One of my favorite things when I was on the road with ATL doing arenas was on like Roadie Friday, I would sit in my office chair on the dock. And as like crew members got done, I'd be like, yo, here's a drink. Like, and we'd all just, the crew that was the production crew, those like just sit and have some drinks on the dock because they were just so tired. They're like,
just
I'm
relax.
not going to a bar. I'm going to bed. Like,
you brought the
I'm
bar
not
to
going
them.
Partying. Exactly. And it's like, well, come have a drink with me. Like, just hang on the dock. We'll all have a drink and like, let's go to sleep. And then tomorrow we're going to go get lunch together. Like, you know, hang out, do that.
I love that. That's amazing. Well, thank you for sharing an embarrassing story about me and about yourself and some other stories.
One good one. Okay, I'll tell you one good one. One last one.
No, go for it.
My nickname on the road was D-Nick because when I started with ATL, there's another Danny Curley.
Oh yeah, we had him on here.
Did you? Awesome. Oh, I didn't see that one. Or hear that one. I'm gonna have to go check that one out. Drew Curtis actually gave me the nickname D-Nick back in the day. Old throwback to Chicago. So we were on the house party tour, which you were on as well. And that was all college town. So of course we'd like go out and have drinks afterwards. And we're like an opening act on that. So I partook in some drinking one night and just, you know, little much, but whatever. I always become like a happy guy when I get a little drunk. And Flyzik was the one that intercepted this. I was just like stumbling down the road, blaring "Dude Looks Like a Lady" on my phone for some reason. And kind of like dancing, but like I have this like weird drunk dance I do. I just remember Flyzik saying to whoever he was standing with, like, "Yeah, let's get on the bus. There's like a homeless guy coming this way. Like, let's not deal with this." And it was me stumbling to the bus, playing "Dude Looks Like a Lady." So to this day, I'll be in a bar and I'll hear like "Dude Looks Like a Lady" come on. It's like Flyzik in the corner playing it, or any ATL crew member that I happen to come across. Like, they all know that. Like, I could probably like show up somewhere and a band member would be in the bar and I wouldn't even know they're there. And like, "Dude Looks Like a Lady" comes on. I'm like, who the hell's here? What's going on right now? Like, who's here?
Oh my God.
Because that, like, from there on out, like that song just came on all the time. It was hilarious.
I love that. I love little inside jokes on the road.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously you're with people 300 some days out of the year, there's tons of inside jokes happening all the time.
My go-to move at a karaoke bar, for better or worse, was, or not a karaoke bar, but you know when you can like play whatever songs you want at the bar, they used to have like the ones you do through your phone. You know, it's
they still got that.
Yeah.
Touch tunes, man. They still got
touch
that.
tunes, yeah. I used to just put on like Who Let the Dogs Out multiple times in a row and then leave because I thought it was it's not funny, but I thought it was fun.
Up by a lake house that my family has way up north, we'd put on like Kenny G or something, like just the worst, like, and these people would be like, what the hell's going on? And like people try to like one up you while they're doing it, like you pay extra money to one up someone, but then we one up them and it's just like Kenny G playing the whole time you're there. It's great.
Everybody suffers. All right, we are coming to an end, so thank you so much for joining me today and sharing all your wisdom. But obviously, as somebody who's listened to the show, do you wear shower shoes or not wear shower shoes on tour?
Never wore shower shoes. Just whatever. Give me what you're going to give me. I'll get a cream for that thing and take care of it. It's all good.
I'll get a cream for that thing. And
yeah, I mean, I don't need to like drag those things in. Whatever.
That's funny. I like
There's
that.
been some dingy showers too, man, where I'm like, I feel like I should be showering in like a plastic bag right now, not just shower shoes.
Yeah, like not taking a shower. Yeah, no, understood. Well, thank you so much for your time. We will put all the links to everything you have in the caption, all your companies and all your
awesome,
socials.
man.
So
appreciate it.
Check it out. Yes, of course.
Thanks for having me out. I appreciate it. This is awesome.